Hello and welcome. It's the countdown to the 20th anniversary celebrations of the 22nd July Revolution, and there is cause to celebrate, looking at the different developments that have taken place in this country, notwithstanding education. And in the studio, I have the minister responsible for basic and upper secondary in the Gambia, Madam Fatou Lamin Faye. Madam Faye, good to have you in the countdown.
Thank you, Malik.
When we talk about the achievements of this revolution, we cannot underestimate the impact that has been made in your jurisdiction, education. I want you to expound on that. Tell us something that is so prominent in the Gambia's education evolution.
Thank you, Malik, for inviting me to this interview. As you rightly said in the beginning, there's a lot to celebrate because this is the 20th anniversary. And from 1994 to date, a lot has happened in the education system of this country. There has been great transformation. There are more schools, and more kids are in the system. And you take, for example, the lower basic schools. In 1994, there were only 250 lower basic schools in this country. In 2014, we have 590 lower basic schools. You look at the upper basic schools, we used to have in 1999, in 1994, something like 22. Today we have 96. You look at the senior secondary schools, we used to have only 12 of them. And today we have 103 of them. That also includes the private schools. But even if I take the public schools in the system, for lower basic schools we had about 246 in 1994. Today we have 687. We take the upper basic schools, 1994 we had 17, and today we have 472. The senior secondary schools, we had about 11 of them. Today we have 63 of them. So you can see the difference between 1994 and 2014. This translates to the fact that education has been taken to the doorsteps of the Gambian children, and opportunities have been created to have more children in the system. And the good thing is we have expanded, and the question will be, are people able to afford education in this country? And I say yes. Because as soon as His Excellency came into power, one of the first things that he thought of doing was not only creating access in terms of expansion, but also making sure that education is affordable. And the first thing he did was to look at ways in which girls can enroll. As you know, in families where you have, for example, 4 children, 5 children, and they have to go to school and you can only afford to send 2, the priority used to be given to the boys. And what he did was to make sure that we create a trust fund for girls to support girls' education. And today we have attained gender parity both at the basic and the secondary level of our education system. And we are not far away at the tertiary and higher education levels. So there has been great transformation in the system.
The gender parity, how does it impact on society, especially in the rural areas?
When you look at the gender parity, you cannot talk about women empowerment without providing education for the girl child and the women. And I think the impact is the fact that you have seen in the public sector, you cannot just stand there and say it's only those in the urban area that are accessing employment in the public sector or even the private sector. People are coming from all over the country, and there are more women in the system. You take from the level of the vice president's office. The vice president is female. You have female ministers. We have women in the army. We have women everywhere holding key positions and participating in the decision-making processes of this country. So there has been a great impact on the lives of women in this country. And as we always say, when we have the opportunity, His Excellency the President is the champion of the women in this country, champion of women empowerment. And he has raised our flag very high. And we are very proud to be women in this country.
I will come to relevance later on, but gone are the days. It used to be, it looked very, very serious. When kids used to trek a long distance, kids used to take furniture to schools, those days are buried under the rubble.
Yes, those days are gone. And the investments in education are yielding dividends at the moment. If you look at the number of children, yes, people used to say that, well, there's expansion, but what about quality? It's not unique to the Gambia. And we have made sure that we put in place, you know, various initiatives that will help us address the issue of quality. As you rightly said, kids used to take furniture to the schools. It's no longer happening. I'm sure you may have even taken furniture to your school, or your brothers had done that. My own brothers did, my sisters did.
I saw kids in my neighborhood who did that.
Yes, but you don't see it now.
No.
You know, people in this country are so dignified now. And I believe, if we are honest with ourselves, everybody feels proud to be a Gambian today, more than you used to be.
One will see the president as a visionary leader, and one of these vision which he has is for the girl child to succeed in education, so much so that there are certain trust funds to help the girl child to access education. Tell us about these trust funds like PEGEP and
you know,
free education.
As I said at the beginning, one of the first things that His Excellency did was to tell the education department to establish the trust fund for girls' education. It was established, and you know, it didn't stop there. He himself, His Excellency the President, decided to establish what he calls the President's Empowerment of Girls Through Education project under his office, and he fundraises for that project. He also has the Jame Foundation for Peace. These are two different initiatives. It reached a point, Malik, I can tell you that, you know, even for us at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education started saying, I hope our children will have husbands. Because the girls began through those initiatives to provide sponsorship for girls. Girls started outnumbering the boys in the classrooms, even in the rural areas. One of the things that we decided to do then is to look at picking up the needy boys. And then we started with that to make sure that we do not lose, because we attained gender parity at the lower basic level since 2005. Today, we have attained it, as I said, up to secondary level. And if we had not taken the steps with the support from His Excellency the President to make sure that the needy boys are also picked up, we would have backtracked on the achievements we had already made. And as such, we made sure that we continued to monitor what was going on in the system and also pick up those that were needy. But then, last year, as you know, primary education was, you know, came free. That was also because of the support of His Excellency the President, because we would not have been able to do that if finance did not provide the resources for us to do it. This year, upper basic schooling has gone free, and we are working on making secondary education free next year. I think if the Gambians remember, after the inauguration of His Excellency the President for the second term, he said at the 22nd July Square that his wish is that every child in this country is able to access education free of charge, even up to university level. And that is to do with his vision. You cannot have development in the absence of education. You cannot eradicate poverty without educating the people. And I think in terms of numbers, today we have from 132,000 plus children in the system to 411 plus in the system now. And out of that, we have 208 who are girls. So that tells you this something about the issue of gender parity.
Very well. Now, let us look at relevance in the Gambian context. I went to school, I read Jack and Jill, I read the story, I read the history of Europe, I read everything was just outside my country. Nothing was taught to me pertaining to the Gambia. I was taught European history, I read European history, I read English literature. But now, tell us relevance in the schools. What is the curriculum like?
What we have done is first and foremost to refocus the curriculum to suit the Gambian needs. And one of the steps we took was to open up to the Gambian public. We have a lot of writers, we have a lot of talented people in the system, in the country. So what we have done is to encourage Gambians to write. And then we buy these books after we edit them and put them in the system so that the children can relate, you know, to what they are reading. The other thing we did was to make sure that the names that we use, the Marys, the Johns, the Pauls, we decided to change those to Fatou, Malik, and the rest of them. So there was huge transformation also during the second revolution in terms of making sure that Gambian children that are in the system are able to relate to what they read. Let me tell you something too that is quite significant. When me and you went to school, we had a lot of non-Gambians in the system teaching us. At that time, in '94, 66% of the teaching stock in this country were non-Gambians. And the danger for that used to be some that came to use the Gambian education system as a stepping stone to go elsewhere would leave middle of the year. And you are stranded, you don't have a teacher, you are in classrooms. So this government, His Excellency's government, decided to work on addressing that situation. And one of the things we did was to look at the remunerations of teachers, also encourage teachers that are Gambian to come on board and be willing to teach our own children. And today, with all the investments that have been put in, 68% of the teaching stock from basic to secondary education level are Gambians. It's only 32% that are non-Gambians.
That's a significant achievement.
It's a significant achievement. It's a complete turnaround. And now it's different from 1994, when I'm sure those who were there before me used to go to bed and find it difficult to sleep. Because when I came in 2004, the same thing applied to me. I used to ask myself, what happens if all of these non-Gambians decide to go back to their countries? What are we going to do? And today, alhamdulillah, I go to bed and I sleep knowing that there are more Gambian teachers in the system. They will not think of, you know, going to other countries because they are from here.
Honorable Minister, you have achieved the MDG goal, education. And a lot of ministries, I go to a lot of fora and I sit down and they discuss sectors, they talk about sectors, but your sector is like That's the sector. That's the one we should emulate. How did you achieve that? How did you achieve that?
One of the first things I did when I came into office was to look at the possibility of getting back some of the staff that had left the system. And with the support of His Excellency the President, we were able to get a few of them back, and that triggered, you know, others coming. And we were able to re-establish the team that was there. We used to have a very strong team. By 1994, there was a strong team in the system, but over time, some of them moved on. But we were able to get them back. So we got them back, and we didn't stop there. We decided to look at ways in which we can motivate the staff to want to be there. And it's not in terms of, you know, increasing people's salaries, but the work environment that we operate in is such that people want to come to work every day. We are among the ministries that, you know, people go to work in the morning and sometimes they overstay and don't ask for the payment of overtime because there are targets that are set. We have managed to put in place the structures, the systems, and the processes. And there are targets and indicators set for each member of staff. In our ministry, we have what we call the performance management system in place. And what that does is, it's a 360-degree assessment tool that we are using. We train some staff. In fact, one of them was from the PMO. And we did this training in South Africa, and then had some technical assistants that came, and we were able to set up the system. And every member of staff in our ministry has signed a service level agreement with your immediate superior. And this has gone down now to the school level. The head teachers have signed service level agreements with their regional directors. And every quarter, we do reviews and look at people based on, assess people based on targets that have been set and indicators linked to those targets. And people work very hard to make sure that, you know, they don't miss the targets. And we continue to tell people in this ministry, failure is not an option. And we have also created the opportunity for the technicians to be able to do what they know best. I can be the minister, the permanent secretary can be there, very skilled. As you know, our permanent secretary is an education planner. He used to be the director of planning. And when the need arises, we go down to help so that we are able to build capacities. So we have a succession plan too, and everybody is involved. We have our senior management team, and we meet regularly. We also have what we call the coordinating committee meetings, which brings all education stakeholders together every 2 months in one of the regions to discuss issues that affect the system. And, you know, move on from there. And when we have something that is new, an initiative that we want to introduce, that's where we take it to discuss it, look at it, listen to other people, and then agree on how to move on with it.
When the Honorable Fatou Lamin Faye travels, she is rest assured that the Education Ministry is moving the way it should move if you were there.
Oh yes. I have no doubts about that. I have a strong permanent secretary, and there's a strong core team that we have. There's also a dedicated team behind them, because everybody has that sense of belonging to the sector. When we do things, it's not me and the PS that do it. It's a team that works on it, so that we are all on the same page at any given time. If you had brought, for example, one of the directors, they will tell you things about the education system just like I would have done or the PS would have done. So we do things together. It's collective responsibility, And we have built that in the system, and everybody knows that support is there. If you are stuck, you have somebody else to turn to say, hey, how do we do this? And let me tell you something at CCM. It's not covered on TV. What we do is we go and do the opening, and JRTS covers that. But then after the opening, JRTS leaves, and we put all cards on the table and look at ourselves and look at each other in the eye and say, this is not the way we should be doing it, we should do it this way. And sometimes you have about 100 people at CCM from all over. Everyone that's a stakeholder is on board. Even the Parent Teachers Association participates. Student representatives participate. The donors participate. Everybody that is a player in the sector participates in CCM. And that's where the key decisions are taken. And it's working very well for us.
And that's what you call good governance.
Yes.
In your sector.
And the other thing that we do is, you know about Education Forum. You know that it used to be a phone-in program. But because of the fact that there are lots of distractions when you do this phone-in program, some people might call and derail the issues that you bring to Education Forum. We decided to stop the phoning bit, but then create an opportunity to interact with people that receive the services that we deliver. And that is why we created, as you know, the Bantaba that GRTS covers. Sometimes Bantaba comes to the ministry, and we all come down and have a face-to-face with our clientele, those that receive the services that we deliver. And we are not on the defensive. We listen. They tell us what they think about what we are doing, and then we go back and look at what we have. We've also been able to do in 2010, for the first time, a country status study of the education system. And the report came out around 2011, and we did this with support from the World Bank and Paul de Dakar under UNESCO. And that helped us to pick out those things that are flaws within the system and work on addressing them. Another thing we did was, I remember in 2005, we went as a team, the core team went on tour, and we went into some of the classrooms in grade 6, grade 7, and we found out that some of the kids could not read, and it became a great concern. We quickly decided to come up with what we call EGRA, Early Grade Reading Assessment, to find out where the problems were. When the report came, I can assure you it was appalling. But then we started to put in place mechanisms to address those problems. And today, we have seen huge improvements in the system.
Before I take you to women advancement and the cause for Gambian women to celebrate, to mark the 20th anniversary, if your ministry, education, which has made some tremendous strides in the evolution of education in this country, what do you have to celebrate as a ministry, as a government sector, under the leadership of the president?
In terms of women's empowerment, I will celebrate the fact that we are beginning to see more girls in the system, one. Number two, we have seen mothers participating in the education of their children. As you know, we have what we call mothers' clubs in schools. And what we do is we build their capacities, give them seed money, and then they go into income generating activities and support the education of the children. That also helped to enroll girls in schools and retain them in the system. That's a key achievement. The women have taken ownership of the education system in this country and are participating fully in the education of their children. We have seen now girls completing grade 12 and going into areas that used to be male domains. Thanks to His Excellency the President, we have the scholarship pageant. And some of those that pass through that program are out in universities studying. Some are in, I know there's one of them that is doing aeronautic technology. I know there's one that is in manufacturing engineering. There's somebody in high voltage electricity. We have a lot of girls that have gone into electronics, electrical, not the secretarial type of jobs. And I think it has impacted positively on the lives of women in this country. I was very impressed when we went to Brussels with Her Excellency the Vice President to represent Her Excellency the First Lady at the Crown Montana Forum. And we met outside with a Gambian lady who is one of the managers of CSE. And I was quite impressed. And there are a number of them around the country and even outside. So I think what this government has done for the empowerment of women is great. It has created the confidence in the women. And women in this country believe that what you men can do, we can do even better.
Of course we can. We understand that.
You understand that?
Definitely so.
And apart from that, you look at a gathering. Will you be able to tell me which woman is from the urban area and which woman is from the rural areas? You can't tell. You cannot tell, because it's not only going to the school and sitting there and learning. People also learn elsewhere. Education happens anyhow, anywhere, anytime. And that's the norm.
Honorable Fatou Lamin Faye, the celebrations will begin on the 9th to the 19th. What is your message to the women?
My message to the women is that let us all come out in large numbers, because if nobody else wants to celebrate, it's the women of this country that want to celebrate, because we have seen the tremendous transformation in the lives of women in this country. And I think we are the biggest group that have a cause to celebrate. Whether they are from the rural areas or from the urban area, let us all come out in our numbers, participate in all the programs, support the process, and continue to back His Excellency the President of the Republic of the Gambia, Sheikh Professor Alhaji Yahya AJJ Jammeh Babili Mansa. I think outside education, other achievements have been registered. And that's what brought about the Babili Mansa. There was a time I was posted to Kerewan. I was also posted to various parts of the rural areas. And I knew how I used to struggle to move from wherever I was posted to get to Banjul. Sometimes, even from Kerewan to Banjul, will take me from morning, and I will not arrive until the last ferry at 10 p.m. That's not the case now. No. Now I find myself crossing the ferry in Banjul, going all the way to Janjambure, now even to Basse, and come back, do a day trip. That was possible before. And what that has done is to limit the time you spend in traveling and focus on issues you want to address, make more money for yourself. So economically, people are better off, because you are better able to manage the time you have to do things. And I want to enjoin the women to continue to be focused, to continue to support this country, knowing that nobody else will come here to help develop our country. People have been here for many years. Colonial rule has been here. For 400 years, people have been here. The past government was here. We are now at this stage where we have seen great transformation in our lives. I think we should make sure that we tighten our belts and do even better to take this country to the level where His Excellency the President wants it to be. And I can assure you, the women are committed, the women are dedicated to make that happen, and it will happen, inshallah.
Honorable Minister, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
We wish you a very, very hearty celebration. We'll be there to support you as well.
Thank you.
The celebrations will kick off from the 9th to the 19th, and you can listen to all the media here in the country, radio stations, GRTS, and we will be telling you each and every program that is within the celebrations. So on that note, we will like to thank you for your time watching us on GRTS. My guest has been the Honorable Minister for Education in the Gambia, the Honorable Fatou Lamin Faye. Thank you and bye-bye.